Module 4 is about report design and deployment. We'll start by talking about the report design and deployment lifecycle. And as we get a little deeper into these two different phases, you'll see that there's a lot more steps and sophistication as we get into more complex reporting scenarios. I'll demonstrate creating a paginated report with Report Builder. We're going to keep it simple, but we're going to do this without the report wizard this time. I'll discuss some of the essential report components that go into building simple reports, and then what components you would use and select to meet different report use cases and business needs. Then finally, I'll wrap up with a demonstration, building a data set and a grouped table report with Report Builder. At the highest level, there are two stages to the reporting process: authoring and deployment. It's important to understand that reporting services is a server-based tool. And that means that we don't just hand off a report to a user who runs it on their desktop. The report is executed on a server where the report server consumes data, runs the queries, renders the report, creates an output, and then that's returned back to the user, usually through their web browser, but it could be through another tool or format. As we break that down a little bit, there are some stages to that. Oftentimes we need requirements. We need to understand what the business needs are and the technical requirements. You're not always going to get those requirements from users, and so we may need to go through prototyping, testing things, being able to interact with the user, ask questions, show them ideas. Once the prototyping phase is completed and we have both our business requirements and technical requirements, often called a report specification, then it's time to design the report. So we go through design steps. We create our data sources, our data sets, we design data regions, we format the report, and then it's time to test it. And the report authoring tool provides that capability as well. Once the report is ready, then we deploy it to a server. At deployment time, we want to build it, test it, make sure that it doesn't return any errors. We deploy it to the server, we test it there, and then we may need to configure the report. So going a little bit deeper, let's take it down one more level. As part of the design process, we create data sources that connect to the databases or other sources of data, make sure that we can authenticate, connect, and return data. That data is returned through data sets, which is a command definition or a query written in the language of the data provider. So if this were SQL Server, we would create queries using T-SQL. We would use views, functions, or stored procedures. If analysis services, then MDX or DAX. Or if it's another database platform or product, in the native language of that platform. We define data regions. Data regions are objects within the report design experience that consume a data set and then render out some content. Simple data regions are things like tables and matrices. We define groups and aggregation within those groups. And then we set formatting properties. And then finally we test and preview the report and make sure that it works in the design environment. When the report is ready to be deployed, we need to validate and make sure that the report doesn't return any errors. Well, we both have technical errors that could result in a connection problem or some kind of a calculation error, as well as validating the report is calculating things correctly and meets our business requirements. Once the report has been deployed, then we manage that report by putting it into folders and setting the visibility, making sure that it's in the right place and that users know where to get to the report. And then we secure the report. Both the data behind the report and the report itself are securable objects. We make sure that only the right users can get to the report and can only see the data that they should be seeing. And then we want to make sure that the report is available to access and run. Once the report is run, then perhaps we want to export or consume that report. So as you can see there's a bit of sophistication to this whole process and some things to think about.